Hey everyone, it's Erik. I'm a counselor out here in Washington State. I was thinking about understanding that it's a topic that's so close to us that we may not even think about it much. I had someone say that they opened up to me because they really felt I could understand their situation. And the more I understood, the more they opened up. I think every therapist or counselor wants to do that, to have a warm disposition, understanding, obviously not judgmental. Hearing more and more of people's stories and their pain and their suffering, I think helps us be even more understanding that people generally are trying to do the best they know to do, that everybody makes mistakes. There is probably a mistake that at least one or two mistakes we have made that just seem to change our life. We feel so really bad about that. Being able to listen to someone and understand their situation is probably one of the most valuable tools out there, whether you're in counseling or not. If we don't really seek to understand that person, then they're not going to open up. If we set aside our own, if I'm speaking to myself, if I set aside my own ideas, set aside my own ideas of what I think they're going through, set aside every opinion, just listen, just be there with them, that could be a more useful tool or skill. It's not really a tool, a skill, than um, giving advice, talking. I think prayer, connection with God, helps me understand people better. You know, a simple prayer that says, God, help me to understand their world, their pain, their suffering. Do I pray this all the time? No. I could pray this every day and probably benefit, and the people around me could benefit if I really sought to understand rather than be understood. Uh, what is empathy? And how is it different than understanding? I could understand a situation. I might not empathize with it. I might understand how something happened or something went down, or understand how 2 plus 2 equals 4. But empathy is understanding with that feeling of similar feelings of what that person's going through. But I believe it's not my feelings. I mean, they're my feelings, but it's about their situation. It's not my feelings about my situation that's similar to their understanding or their situation. I think we pick up on people's feelings for sure, and some of us are better at it than others. And there's no shame about whether people can do that or not. The extreme, and I don't like to use the word narcissist because everybody's narcissistic today because someone invented the internet, which then people can now diagnose. But one of the traits of narcissism is just that inability to empathize, just can't step outside of themselves. And it sounds like a moral judgment, but think of it as a disease. Just the inability to understand someone else's world. We probably all struggle with that at some level. I can never truly understand someone's pain and suffering. That's actually a good place to start, because then I wouldn't say I just know exactly what you feel or me. Yeah, I wouldn't say that because I don't. I can have a glimpse of it. I could have a tiny glimpse of that, but to really understand, and I think that's what would keep us humbler when talking about such things. If we have too much empathy, too much understanding, we think we're really understanding and empathizing, but it's still maybe our feelings based on what they're going through. It could be from our lack of what we didn't get in childhood that may cause us to connect too much in that way, where we don't really have a sense of self. I worked with someone who said he felt like a chameleon. And it's that desperate need to fit in, to have someone bond with me, that I don't really think about what I need or what myself needs. It's more like whatever you need, I become. And it works. It's a good survival tool. The challenge is deep down, we never really feel like someone understands our needs. So there's this balance between connecting with others and connecting with ourselves. If I connect with myself, I know what my needs are, my wants, my beliefs. We'll get specific, like what works for me health-wise, spiritual-wise, relationship-wise, my history, my understanding of things, my sense of self, my emotion. The other person has their sense of self, their beliefs, their thoughts, their wants, their needs, their religion, their relationships with people, their political ideas, whatever. Good boundaries would presuppose that I am separate than them and they are separate from me, and that we may share common interests or beliefs or ideas, but really it's just kind of a sharing rather than we lose our sense of self in that relationship. With the common term codependency, which is an unfortunate term, it doesn't really describe much. But we may have that sense of loss of self in order to connect. We lose our own needs, our own wants. I want whatever you want. I don't really think about what my reality is, my feelings, my thoughts, my beliefs, my opinions. I become whatever you are. The challenge is then, since I'm kind of living in someone else's world, I'm then more likely to tell them what to do, how to think, how to be, and I get really upset if they don't do what I want them to do. Say like it's in the context of a drug and alcohol relationship or sex addiction or spending or gambling or overeating, that other person becomes my focus, and I feel so bad that they're sticking their hand in a fire that I'm trying to get their hand out by telling them, don't do this, don't do this. And I think I understand. And maybe humility is to say, no, I don't understand their world. Humility would be, I need to detach, DETACH. Don't even think about changing him or her. Detaching in anger or frustration doesn't really work, because then we feel guilty. Detaching in love is to understand that he or she is a separate human being. It's their life. God has given them that life for them to experience, not for me to manage. People ask, well, why does God allow all this evil in the world? Because God has boundaries. He's not going to manipulate us. He can empathize and understand with our weaknesses, but he won't fix them without our asking him. Most good boundaries are about asking and seeing the other person as separate. So I went off into a little bit of rabbit trails, but I'd like to do some talk around boundaries. It seems so common, and it really helped my life a lot to understand them and to develop them. Having good boundaries between me and the other person helps me presuppose that I don't know their world. If I'm fused and enmeshed, I feel like I know what they're going through. And the problem is, it's kind of a false connection. And it's more like amoeba-like, that I'm coming over them and putting my world over their world, versus pulling back and saying, I don't know what they're going through. How can I be useful to them, God? I don't have a plan for their life. This is a joke. What does God and a codependent both have in common? They both have a plan for your life. God's is optional. You don't have, he doesn't compel us to to follow him because he has good boundaries. He doesn't try to manipulate us. Where a codependent feels like, but if you would just do what I say, it would work out. Well, I have it all scripted here. Here's the plan. Just work with me. No, it doesn't work that way. To let go, let people be who they are, and to seek to understand just their world without thinking we understand. Hopefully that makes sense. You take care. Have a great day.